I'm Jenny-Jaymes and my sidekick, Christian Cano, partner in crime, is coming up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen's sidekick. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. Hi y'all.
See you soon.
Good morning, everybody. It's Two Queers in the Truck time. And for the first time ever, I have a co-pilot. So if you're listening to this, you obviously can't hear her face. So Laura, we will introduce her momentarily. And we're already into the last Wednesday of the month. So this month, we actually have 5 Wednesdays, so we have a bonus round, which we always announce. Sunday. We have guns that look like knives and knives that look like guns. And Sundays, sale, come on down to the convention center. But anyway, when you get the bonus round, you don't pay any extra because all of our shows are free. But yeah, so I have a friend in from town named Laura, and I'll let her introduce herself. But she is from, can I say where you're from?
Sure.
She used to live here in Charlotte, but now she lives in New York City, where all the liberals live and some homosexuals. And I am, the birthplace of the American gay movement, Stonewall. And we briefly met 6 years ago. She doesn't remember me, so that says a lot about me. I wasn't feeling the love, but we stayed in contact, and we've just become closer and closer. And she's in the queer family too, and is just a fabulous human being and social advocate, and she's a badass too. Martial arts, the whole 9 yards, yoga, just amazing. But tell your story just a little bit, like say a little bit about who you are.
Sure. So I used to live in Charlotte, and I loved it here. I lived here for like nearly a decade, and I sort of threw myself into the activism world and got chewed up and spit out, and made it around the block a few times and knocked the block down and built it back up. And I learned that New York City was running low on trans people and homosexuals. So I decided I needed to fill the quota. But yeah, I went there. Me and my wifey, we made a baby, and now it's me. My wife.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's me, my wifey, and a baby in New York City. But I always miss Charlotte. Charlotte's where I was born as a trans femme. So I always have to come back to my birthplace to pay homage.
Cool.
She's also Latina as well, and she actually speaks Spanish, unlike the rest of us. Because our other show is Latinx based, but is English speaking, and so it's unusual to have. So she'll be on the next show as well. So if you watch both shows, this is the sister show to Coffee and Pan Dulce. Which when I say Pan Dulce, it sounds like John Wayne or
yes,
or Matthew McConaughey. So all right, and so I anglify the caucasity of it all, and it's painful, and even the Telenova voice that Christian does is even funnier. So we'll do that on the
yes, of course.
Yeah.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. There we go. Sorry, Jen. I didn't mean to do that in your show. All right.
No, it's actually funny because we don't talk about the other show but as much because we go so fast, and we typically record in the morning. So even though we release these, so originally when we first started, for people that have just tuned into Two Queers in a Truck in 2024, we originally started this in Christian's SUV. We would drive around Charlotte, and we would make observations, make fun of people. Sometimes get our camera too hot because it was too close to the windshield. We wore masks.
We were so bootleg. We're still bootleg, but it was real bootleg.
It was down and dirty funny. And that's when I started saying a lot of words like fuckery on the air, which Christian gave him the vapors for a little while.
Yes, I was like,
oh. And but anyway, that was how this show was born out of the other show. So it was like a birthing of another podcast, but it was kind of a follow-up show, and we briefly did a follow-up show after that. So we used to do this stuff live. We did a show called Wired and Tired for a little while.
Yeah, that's right.
It was after the coffee show, and after we'd been pounding.
I forgot about that, Jen. Yeah.
And so it was me and a libertarian on a show together.
Yes,
it was interesting. It was.
It was good. It was actually really good. Yeah.
Jeff is a reasonable non-tinfoil hat wearing libertarian for the most part.
Before the pandemic.
Correct.
That's right. Let's
very cringe show with him. Making fun of masking before the world fell out.
Yes. Oh gosh.
And I think we put that show in the vault safely, and never is it going to see the light of day. Kind of like old.
Yes.
But a little bit of history, a little bit of Laura. We should make a show called "A Little Bit of Laura."
A little bit of Laura. Hey, we need content.
We got you, but very, very Seinfeld and very New York. But it's kind of, we burned up the first segment with just making introductions so that people in our listenership and viewership, if you're watching this or listening to it, you actually get to meet the voice on the other side, because this is very unusual. We do not do guests on the show. On the other show, we have guests, we have dancing clowns, we have a whole bunch of stuff. I think
you're the first one, Laura. Jenny's real picky about her time. So I'm very impressed that she's.
That's a nice way that I like to talk. Very nice. It's like, so Christian and I are like siblings. Like, I'm the sister he never wanted. You know, like he's trying to push me back into the womb. You know, it's like go away. I'm like a bad penny. I always show up. But anyway, we'll go to our second topic, and probably the whole planet's talking about this topic, and we're not going to delve too deep into it because it's a whole lot of fuckery. But obviously, unless you've been under a rock or in outer space or whatever, you've probably realized by now that that somebody tried to assassinate former President Trump, and there's all kinds of things swirling with it. Like, and the memes are the best. Like, I've been circulating an Alec Baldwin, Rust meme where he basically says, "I wouldn't have missed." Like, great timing because he just got off his court case. I guess the improper prosecutorial procedure or whatever got him off, and so he's, I guess to get a mistrial, and he's going to go home, kind of like Monopoly, get out of jail free. But anyway, so I guess apparently Trump's ear got shot, even though it's weird because he is very much an exhibitionist, and you would think, like a 3-year-old that he is, that he'd be showing the world his boo-boo. And I think it's suspect because I've seen clips of him at the RNC, and also I think the timing of it right before the RNC, his ear gets shot. Like, first of all, if anybody's ever handled an assault rifle or seen an assault rifle do its damage, and I've done both in my lifetime, I'm just saying, if it touches your ear or any other body part, it shreds. Talk to a trauma surgeon that has operated on somebody that's survived or not survived and a shooting of any kind, and with an assault rifle, and it's designed to do really bad things to the body. Hence the name assault rifle, not happy boo boo. And so the fact that he fired an AR styled weapon 8 times at the president, and the people he did hit, 2 are in the hospital in very critical condition, and 1 person did pass away. And first of all, our hearts and vibes and prayers go out to those families that were really affected by this. Versus Trump's fifis and his little Flintstones Band-Aid or SpongeBob SquarePants Band-Aid that he has on his ear. By the way, I saw a meme that had a My Pillow Band-Aid. I thought that was delicious. I mean, from one scammer to another. And people are like, some people have gotten mad that I've posted questioning things. Like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't wear a tinfoil hat. They're not very stylish. And I don't think it's necessarily a conspiracy. I think there's some things that are sus. I really do think his ear got scratched by flying glass when he was on the ground. And because one of the teleprompters that he doesn't use, wink, wink, probably got hit by a stray round. And that's what local law enforcement said. Now, there's conflicting reports because his people and Trump is maintaining that he got shot. And when an AR bullet hits something, it explodes like a watermelon, like the old Sledge-O-Matic with the one comedian and with the crazy hair, and I can't remember his name, Gallagher. And it just explodes. And it's the least graphic way I can describe it. And I don't think it would just barely scratch your ear, because there's a close-up picture that I have pulled down from the interwebs and the Google machine. And his ear's intact. Now, it's covered in blood when he rises from the stage.
Yeah.
And to me, the other thing too is he's not in any form of shock. Like, you can tell he's okay. Like, you can tell he's more worried about his shoes, and he pops up and he's doing the fist pump. And I'm like, this is Captain Bone Spurs. And he's never seen combat unless, of course, it is oil wrestling with Putin. Like, that's the only kind of combat this guy's ever seen. Just take all the time you need with that image. Thank God I haven't eaten breakfast, so I would probably be puking back with that image. Very visual. But I mean, this is Two Queers in a Truck, and we use a Putin and Trump image where they're riding a horseback shirtless. And we also have one where there's a pride event with cock-shaped lollipops. It's wonderful, the highest standard of journalism and bootleg showcasing and fuckery and shenanigans. But anyway, it's a very bizarre thing. A lot more questions than answers. And he's always been sporting this Band-Aid. And to me, how you answer this question, if he was actually shot and if there was actually ear damage, which there's not, he would be showing close-ups, because he's going to fly. He needs sympathy, because he's an absolute dick. And this is the thing we've talked about for 8 years. Is you can be anything but just an absolute dick to people. And he's mildly charming. Trump is charming in a certain sociopathic way, but it's very bizarre.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, like, Christian and I haven't had a chance to talk about this. But we are up against our first break. We have 2 segments now, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck. Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Coffee and Pandosi, but I wanted to talk about something personal. I have started a company with a business partner of mine called Java Notes Records. And we have an Instagram page, and in our biography, or as the cool kids call it, the bio, we have a link to our Indiegogo page. If you go onto our Instagram or our Facebook, we have a campaign going for our Indiegogo, and it's helping us start this company that's going to help so many people between employment, charitable events, things of that nature. We're really doing this for our local community and really trying to help others and create a job for me too. But if you would go to our Instagram page for Java, like JVA Notes Records, and I would appreciate the support. Thanks for listening.
All
Bye,
right.
y'all.
So Instagram and Facebook, Java Notes
Records.
Right? Got it. Java Notes Records. All right. Thank y'all.
Hey, thanks for watching Two Queers in a Truck, and Christian and I just blathering on about craziness in the world today. Y'all be safe out there. There is a lot of Republicans on the road.
That's right.
Have
Bye,
a good
boo.
week out there.
Bye.
And we are back. And I kind of wanted to get the takes. In fact, since Laura's come in town, we haven't really talked about the Trump shooting much. I'm kind of curious what you would say, what you think about it. Can I disclose what you used to do?
Sure.
So Laura's also former military, and she served for 4 years. And from a military aspect, from somebody that has been in and around this kind of stuff, what is your take when you saw this unfold? What was your first thoughts?
I was praying that, well, I was worried that the usual thing would happen where they would spin it so that the blame is on trans people. And like, even if and I was praying that whoever did it had never even whispered like they, them pronoun on like a LinkedIn profile or even a hint of transness in their life. Because if they did, it'd be on the front page of the New York Post. Trans person tried to kill the president. And then like, I'd have to worry about this stuff on the streets, and my friends would have to worry about this stuff on the streets. I also was hoping it was not a person of color for the same reason for people of color. And when I found out that it was a white guy, a registered Republican, it was I have to admit I was a little relieved, because it proves that all of the rhetoric that this administration has brought forth from the beginning is eating them alive. And I think that it'll continue to eat them alive. Like, you can't preach violence constantly and not expect violence. It's just...
Yeah, when you foment violence and aggression, and you put yourself and your family on Christmas cards like Bobo Bobert, and all the people where they're posing with guns and they're brandishing weapons in a playful way, and implying that, you know, it's going to get bloody if we don't get our way, like a little 4-year-old in Toys R Us. You eventually you reap what you sow. Or I said this the other day, and I've said this several times. It's like carrying around a rattlesnake, shaking it around in a box, and then when you take it out of the box, it bites you, and you're surprised that it bit you. And I go, who's the idiot, the snake or you? And obviously it's a rhetorical question. And if you, or as I like to say, you fuck around to find out. And I don't think anybody deserves to be shot. So first and foremost, nobody at that thing, including former President Trump, Colt 45, did not deserve to be shot. I don't think violence is the answer. In fact, I think it's the antithesis of democracy. But maybe you need to reevaluate, because at the same time, at their RNC convention, so at these conventions, if you've never been to one of these political conventions, they have like different little booths. Like, it's an actual convention. And one of them is giving away, if you register their deal, they're giving away an AR style rifle. And they're come on for signing up on their booth and putting in, your name, or I don't even know what they're giving away. But I mean, I don't know how they're qualifying it, but maybe it's some kind of like, I don't know, secret, extra secret, top secret fan club or, down low gay, like a penis pool thing or whatever, whatever. But I do think I've looked at sweet cheeks that shot at President Trump, and I say shot at because we don't know if he really shot Trump or glass scratched his ear. So I'm going to leave that into interpretation. But he did shoot 3 other individuals. The Trump shooter, we'll call him because I can't remember his name when he's not worth noting. I don't want to give him the name even post death, post unaliving. He does look like he could easily be down low gay. Like I don't think he was full gay, but maybe his boyfriend was. Just saying, just noting. He probably lived in his parents' basement most likely, and it was his dad's gun that was actually used as the thing. It was registered to his father. 20-year-old. I don't know if he was even going to school. I know he graduated high school from the records. Seemed like one of those, I'm not going to cast aspersions, but he seems like an outcast. He seems like somebody that's searching for meaning. I guess he found it. It's there's probably more constructive ways.
He seemed like sorry to interrupt you, Jenny, but he seemed like one of those persons that would have done a school shooting when he was younger.
Correct. Yeah. Very much had a school shooting vibe, like very much like the original OG Colorado shooting back 20 plus years ago, the Columbine type person. He looked at, they're still digging into motives. I don't know if they've found a manifesto yet, but almost all of these terrorists have a manifesto because they are delulu and they're cray-cray, and it's one of those bizarre things where they're a legend, at least in their own mind. I will say the LGBT members of the Congress, I'm quoting LGBTQ Nation, election 2024, but there's been the Democrats right away stepped up, and even though the Republicans are the opposing party and all this, they still, the Dems definitely stepped up and, condemned this. And some of the queer members of Congress, Tammy Baldwin, of course, from Wisconsin, violence of this kind is never acceptable, and I condemn this in the strongest terms. My thoughts are with President Trump and his family. Kristen Sinema, that has the Party City Wigs. She's now an independent in Arizona, but she was elected as a Democrat. Violence, especially political violence, is completely unacceptable. We must be a model for civil democracy and commit to the values that define us as Americans. Even now, and we could go on and on, there's multiple queer Congress people, Mark Takano from California, et cetera, et cetera. But I've got a question. We both have lived through this Trump era, and we knew before times. Like we have enough lived. We're all old enough. Well, maybe not Laura. She's only 19. She's like an intern. I did not have sex. No, I'm just kidding. No Bill Clinton on this. No, she's you're at least 25. You read at least on the 25-year-old level. Chris, I only read on about the 17-year-old level. So, there we go. But I can lift heavy things. That's the most important part. But in this era of gun violence and increased gun violence, especially since 2004, when the assault rifle ban sunsetted, and we've seen a methodical, not just in the Trump era, but before that, many of these shootings happened since 2004, and especially since 2008, when President Obama came into the scene. It seemed like America became more ambivalent about violence. I remember when that one Batman movie released, and the dude dressed up as Joker and went into a movie theater and shot people up just coming to watch a movie. The violence in Uvalde, Texas, and near my hometown of San Antonio, Texas. that I have friends and loved ones in Uvalde was deeply personal to me. And the 21 souls that were lost in that. But how do we not learn something from this after all these mass shootings, after all this inconceivable violence? And I wonder how much of it is part and parcel of the 9/11 wars for profit. I wonder how much of it is this acceptance, almost like it's so big we can't tackle it anymore, so we're just going to allow it to happen. I believe the statistic last year is we had 43,000 people, Americans, die because of firearms last year. No, that's a lot less than cancer or heart attacks or anything like that. But I wonder how many of those could be prevented with a little bit of common sense, a little bit of love thy neighbor. And it just seems like to me that we're just kind of going, no biggie. It didn't affect me. And I kind of want to get your take on that, Christian, is somebody that's a nonviolent person. Is how do you feel about the violence, and what are your thoughts about our lackadaisical attitude towards it?
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Jenny. I think I think we're at a time and place where there are certain things that people have just become blah about, and gun violence seems to be one of those. And the people that are at peak voting age, which are the Gen Xers, our generation, they have made a decision somehow along the last decade. This is an issue that, like you said, is too big to handle. We're just going to deal with it, And my hope is, because I'm a half glass full kind of person, that the millennials, the younger millennials, and then the baby Zs, they are the ones that will try again to move that down, because our generation, the prime voting generation, which is 45 to 60, they have made a decision for whatever reason. This is kind of the way it is. Trump uses that term all the time. It is what it is. They've made a decision. It is what it is. And there's other little bitty issues that they've already made that decision on, like harassment of LGBTQ people. They made a decision somehow along the way. Well, that's just something that should come along with, you living that lifestyle. And there are certain things that they're not going to move on. And so my hope is, as we die out, the younger generation reexamines it and says, I don't have to be like that, So
yeah, I hope, as we always say as parents, make better choices.
Yes.
But we are up against our second break, and we will do a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with some more Tier 2 Queers in Truck. Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the 2 Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye-bye. Happy Pride.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching us on 2 Queers in a Truck. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime at your leisure on our video podcast platforms like Facebook and YouTube. But you can also listen to us, either this show or any of our past shows, on our audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and all of the other ones. So once again, thank you for watching 2 Queers in a Truck. I hope you enjoy our show.
We are back. So I wanted to go to a lighter topic because obviously we're going to talk about this more on coffee. And Tucker Carlson's back in the news and regarding the gay community, because, we all know that
did he come out?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
That one infomercial where the guy's tanning his testicles, and there's like a lot of homoerotic stuff like they used to play in the video bars and the gay bars. Remember back in the early 21st century,
Yep.
the gay bars were video bars, and they had this homoerotic, almost like soft porn, but there wasn't sex in it, but it was just like this men like pumping iron and oiling each other up. This is what the Tucker Carlson thing is. And our theory on the coffee show was, and on this show too, is that probably one of Tucker's assistant producers goes, well, I'm just gonna out Tucker this way.
Exactly.
And Tucker loved it.
That's,
I mean, again, I don't know if Tucker's gay or not. I can't speak to his sexuality. Wouldn't want to. But I'm gonna say, at least at Boy Scout camp, he probably has experimented a little bit. There was probably a little bit of sleepovers and winky face. But anyway, the former disgraced Fox News. I guess it's already assumed that anybody that used to be on Fox News or is on Fox News currently is a disgrace. Made a comment this week at the RNC convention that Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, is not gay.
Oh yeah, that's right. I saw that.
So and not only is he not gay, but the gays all keep close track of that stuff.
Yes.
Now, first of all, there is some truth to that. We do have a manifest, like the Titanic or any cruise ship or anything like that. We have a little gay agenda manifest. Like we do have a gay and a trans agenda. And so we know where all the homos are at. So all of you at Fox News and all Republicans that are in the closet, we also know where you are. And we very clearly know what you do in your spare time. We'll leave it at that.
Exactly.
Especially like Ladybug, Lindsey Graham, and all of her exploits, or as we like to call Lady G on this show.
Lady G.
And big old queen. It is weird that both senators from South Carolina are closet gay men, Tim Scott and Lady G. It's very bizarre. They're very Southern gay.
But Tim Scott's gonna get married.
That would be awesome. Be like, a little doctor. But anyway, you remember in the Senate, was it last year when that one congressional aide had sex with that German national on the after hours and got caught on the security tape? And it made the news for at least 15 minutes.
It was scandalous.
It's scandalous. Bless your heart. But very, very bizarre. First of all, as a in the closet homosexual that Tucker is, commenting on gay stuff. And he's a lot like the kid that liked a girl in the first grade, but he didn't know how to verbalize it because you're in the first grade. So you end up like punching her and she eats her boogers or whatever. And because you're in the first grade and eating your boogers, the wildest sin that you can come up with. Like it's scandalous in itself because, eating boogers is pretty graphic. But he really secretly likes her and he doesn't know why.
But you know what, Jenny? Hey, Jen.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to explain, and you guys probably understand this, and I may not be able to verbalize it correctly, but those who live in the privileged world, there is no embarrassment or shame for saying or doing things that we would go, well, that's not a polite thing to do, or that's not, appropriate thing. Like I would never guess someone's like be so arrogant enough to say something like that. You know what I mean? But those who are that world, which they're shrinking, that's the world they used to live in, which will makes them upset because they are so used to being able to say things so freely like that. And like you and I don't would ever think about going, well, I think Mayor Val Lyles is really a lesbian. I mean, we would never do something like that because, first of all, that's inappropriate to do. And we would, why would you say something so silly? The people that live in that world, to them, there's no shame or anything. It's like a bro joke almost to them. And it's why would you say something like that?
And what's the advantage of Pete Buttigieg that's not an elected official, that's a political appointee? Why would he lie about being gay and just chasing now. Like, you know, his
Yes.
house, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm going, I don't know if Pete's gay. I know that Chasen is. And
Yeah.
it's like really weird. It does happen. And in fact, it's happened to Christian. So true story. I was at Charlotte Pride 2019. I was working the National Organization for Women booth. And I'm not going to name the name of the lady that came up to me. In fact, this is going to go into the last segment because I wanted to segue into this anyway on gay, not gay, and trans, not trans, because I wanted to go back to a Laura point from earlier. But this woman comes up to me, and Christian's not the most popular person in Charlotte, North Carolina, just because, well, he's controversial like I am. We'll leave it at that. So anyway, especially back then, and this woman came up to me and she goes, "You do that show with that man?" I mean, I go, Christian, he has a name. Yes, I do that show with him and several others.
That man.
It was hot as hell too, and I was just like, "Oh my god, you know, woman." And she goes, "Anyway, he's not gay. He does not have a man friend." And I looked at her deadpan, and I go, "Well, I don't know if Christian's gay, but I do know his." And I'm not going to name his partner on the air because I don't have his consent. But Christian's partner at the time, and it's still. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to create a rumor. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't want Andrew coming after me. I'm sorry. We can edit that out. But I don't. It was kind of wild because I was like, but yeah, anyway, like, woman, you're barking up the wrong tree. And it was the stupidest thing. It'd be like somebody come up and saying, "Jenny, you're not trans." I'm like, I don't know where you're going with this. Like, it's a very wild thing.
It's a passive aggressive way of trying to backhanded someone. You know what I mean? Because it's like starting. It's a weird thing. I agree with you. But most normal people don't do that. It's people who used to live in privileged worlds who want to maintain that privilege. So that's the way they can kind of punch. They think they're punching down, but they're really making fools out of themselves. And I think the best way to handle it is for those of us who are going around them is to kind of whatever, you know, because they hate that. They hate when you don't give them the attention that they used to have.
Yeah.
So back to your Tucker Carlson thing, the best way to handle a Tucker Carlson thing, which I'm sure that's the way Pete Buttigieg is handling it, is either not even reply to the silliness or just kind of roll your eyes and go, whatever, you know, because that almost diminished. That's how marginalized communities learned how to put other people in their place, is by using the term whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. So,
and I want to contrast that with something Laura said earlier about the Trump shooter. Is they tried to do this in Colorado when there was the gay bar shooting in Colorado Springs. I think it was last year or the year before. All these 2020 years are blurring together. We'll just call them the 2020s. And the roaring 20s. But yeah, bring a Snickers bar. We're going to be here a while. But one of the bizarre things is that they were trying to maintain that the shooter in the Colorado Springs shooter was a non-binary genderqueer person, and he wasn't. But they for some reason they were trying to say, see, they're trying to shoot their own. Now, I do think that calls come from inside the house. And what I mean by that, I think there's a lot of queers in the Republican Party and on the conservative side of the ledger. There's a lot of swingers like MTG that, you know, was part of a Georgia sex club and was a serial cheater herself, Bobert and her sex criminal ex-husband. We can go on and all of her theater hijinks, you know, giving a handy there, you know, and going to see Beetlejuice next to families. Which it seems like every accusation is a confession with these people.
A projection.
Yeah, they so want to be out of the closet for whatever freaky deaky stuff they have in the deal. And you know, like, like Jerry Falwell Jr. and the pool boy
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff, they all want to scream it from the hilltops. Like I kissed the pool boy and I loved it, and I wear a chapstick, and they're dying to tell their story because that's human nature. We're all social creatures. But it's just a weird thing because they put themselves in their own trick box. Homophobia and transphobia and bigotry primarily comes from the conservative right.
Mm-hmm.
So you guess what the cure is? Just don't be a bigot. Unlearn this. You can stop doing it. You can break the cycle of violence, bigotry, all that. It's a simple choice. You don't have to wake up and choose bigotry every morning. It is something that I could have easily fell in, considering my family history and my mom's side of the family on how they feel about certain things. And it, that's other families, mostly from West Texas oil fields, and it's rough and tumble, and it's very brotastic, and they're very much people like me aren't really out and proud in the West Texas oil fields. It's very much a Brokeback Mountain situation, and I operated a lot like Heath Ledger did for a long time out in that world. And but that is it. We've run out of time. We could talk forever, but we don't have forever. But anyway, we are going to dance out with some more music, and we will see kids next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, boo.
Bye, boo.
Bye.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Two Queers in a Truck, and happy July. It is hot out there, so make sure you drink your water, have a good time, don't have any heat stroke, and watch out for Alec Baldwin. He's out in the road. But anyway, have a great week. We'll see you next week. Or you
Bye,
guys.
boo.
Bye, boo.